Hello class, and welcome to week 2 of your history of graphics class. And week 1 was really kind of just focusing on getting to know each other just a little bit. We'll probably try and continue doing some of those things throughout the semester. And I also just wanted to work through some of the glitches. Some of the problems there were with the video, and I have some users who have Mac computers, so we had to do a couple things there. So week 1 was kind of low key. I think we got worked through some things, so thank you for your patience with everything. And now on to week 2. Now for week 2, we're going to get into the book a little bit more. We're going to talk about some things. First, we're going to look at why you are doing, why we're looking at the history. But first, I just wanted to thank you for doing such a good job with your introductions. I've gone through some of them. Some of them are really kind of interesting and kind of fun. And it was just kind of a nice way for me to get to know you and kind of get a sense of your personalities through the graphics that you chose. I hopefully will get through all those and get them graded this week. I'll be working on them this week. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and let me know. So what I was mentioning earlier is week 2 is going to begin our study into the history of graphics, and we're going to start off into the book, using the book, but I have found a couple of other websites that we may jump into a little bit. They give us some practical knowledge. The book gives us some great historical knowledge, but there are some websites out there that give us some practical knowledge also that we can both apply to your professional career and how it relates to you as a designer. So as we're going into week 2, some of the things I want you to think about is, and this quote is actually from the book for the first reading that I'm going to ask you to do, and it says, "We need a critical history of graphic design to provide ways of thinking about a graphic form and to gain insight into design as a cultural practice." And one of the things that you'll really notice in the first part of the book that I ask you to read is, I want you to take a look as you're reading through this book and think about all the different things that the book does and what it means. For example, in the first part of the book, when you're looking through the book, the introduction, many of the pages have very few text. They maybe just have one sentence. So what are they doing with that one sentence? That's one of the things that you need to think of as a graphic designer. You need to look at it as a critical eye. Why did they choose the orange text? Why do they have the things italicized that are italicized? Why do they have the page letters in a lighter gray? Why not black? Why is the text on the right side of the page instead of the center or the left side of the page? Those are the types of things that you need to think about as you're reading through this book and as you're working on your designs itself. So the introduction really kind of does a nice job of talking about why we need to look at design, why we need to think about the history of design to make us better designers. One of the things it points out is that a historical insight often leads to an understanding of how design can take shape within a cultural system. Design is very cultural, and without knowing it, many of the designs that you create are probably reflective of the culture that you live in itself. The things that are normal, the things that are expected, the things that are acceptable that are in your designs are all very relative to the culture that you are living in. So when you're going through and you're looking at the design, another thing that you need to think about is that the history of design is more of a history of ideas and assumptions, and it's about communication, and it's about more than just what's going on with the graphic design itself. You can look at the design initially just for the design itself, but then we have to start thinking about how this was developed and what the purpose was, and there's some very interesting things about communication itself and how it was evolved. So that's kind of what the introduction does. The prelude that you have to read does a little bit more to kind of talk about the importance of the development of humans and communication, and they really kind of talk about the difference between animals and us and how we communicate. Animals, they communicate specific ways, specific things, and humans, the ways that they communicate often are very representative of themselves and the culture that they live in. Then the next part that I'm asking you to read is the chapter 1, and it's early writing, mark making, notion scripting, and it again is very important, and talks again about the development.